Have you ever known someone who truly excelled at a particular sport? Or maybe it was music or perhaps mechanics. They stood out for a season, sometimes going far enough to set a record or create an invention or become some sort of sought after expert. We admire them, right? But have you ever known anyone who excelled at being retired? What an accomplishment! It's funny, but I doubt their success had anything to do with the size of their portfolio or the square footage of their home. Instead, it was because they refused to lower the bar. While the world told them to slow down, they chose to raise their expectations. They leverage every moment to be the most important they've ever had. They create memories, impact lives, change reality, and move from strength to strength while others seem to just slowly fade away. Which person would you rather be? If you're like me, you want to be the person who leverages retirement to make every moment epic. You too? Well, how do you become the most interesting senior in the world? I'm glad you asked. I'm Bill Hennessy. I'm the Retirement Igniter, and I've spent the last 44 years as a missionary, pastor, educator, and coach. Now I spend my time coming alongside other seniors, helping them to lighten up their retirement with meaning and purpose. I've had countless conversations with older Americans, and over time, I developed the retirement ignition method for making retirement the best season of our lives. Today, I want to talk about the final and perhaps most critical letter in the retirement ignition acronym, the word purpose. We're going to talk about E, elevate. And when I say that we're going to talk about elevating, what I mean is we're going to talk about raising expectations. We're going to talk about having things that once boggled us that we now bank on our experience. And when I say elevate, I'm talking specifically about raising your expectations. Society tells us that retirement is a time for low expectations, a time to coast, a time to settle. But living an elevated life means that we reject that script. We elevate every aspect of our lives by intentionally investing in others and taking our relationship with God to the next level. Think about it. Many of us will live for another 20, 30, or even 40 years. That's a lifetime in itself. And while retirement's once implied a slow fade, seniors today are refusing to comply with that outdated mandate. Instead, they raise their expectations of what this season can hold, and they find new meaning and purpose and craft a life after their 9 to 5 obligation ends. They reinvent themselves to leverage everything God gave them and everything life taught them. For them, life isn't just okay, it's great. They have a reason to get up in the morning and a reason to be grateful at night. Living an elevated life means raising your expectations by using the prior 6 skills in our acronym. First is pausing. You assume life is over. You stop assuming that life is over and you recognize that God's inviting you to a higher season. Secondly, you uncover. You confront the fog and the loneliness, not to wallow in it, but to have a clear path for something greater. Next, you release. You choose to let go of the old roles you once held and the low expectations that others placed on you. P is for pinpointing. You identify the gaps in your life, realizing that emptiness is just space where God is ready to plant your next spark. O is observing. You stop looking at your feet and start looking up, seeking God's guidance and the nudges He's placed in your paths. Surrounding. You stop isolating and start surrounding yourself with others who fuel your fire and encourage your journey. And now we arrive at E, elevate. When you elevate your retirement, you make a conscious choice to give God every day. You raise your expectations of what God can do through you. You stop asking, how can I fill the time? And start asking, how can I fulfill my calling? You're made in God's image. It isn't a big jump to imagine that as long as you live in the way He intended, He's going to bless you. And when you raise your expectations to match, you get to live in His strength, His power, and His joy. Nothing beats the knowledge that God is blessing your effort because He called you to do those things. Living an elevated life only comes when you stop settling for good enough and say with Jesus, nevertheless, not my will be done, but yours be done. knowing full well that God has your best interest in mind at all times. I'm guessing that you, like me, sometimes have a hard time sensing God's best plan for your life. It's hard to keep your expectations high when the world drags you down. That's why God places such a high priority on walking with others. Iron sharpens iron, and we need one another to set our sights on high. And that's why I'm excited to invite you to attend the very first Retirement Ignition Retreat. It's happening May 17th to the 21st in Branson, Missouri. It's not just a vacation, it's a reset, and it'll be a beautiful opportunity to explore what it takes to get an ignited, elevated life as a retiree. And best of all, you'll be one of just a few people in the room as friendships are born, realities change, and your chaos gives way to a clear path forward. Do you want to know more? Go to retirementigniter.com and click on the Retirement Retreat tab. Hey, before you go, to subscribe to this podcast. We're building a nationwide movement of ignited seniors who are bent on making the next season of life their absolute best. And I'd really love for you to be a part of this exciting community. Until next time, remember, you are made for more. Raise your expectations. Don't just fade away. Live your retirement with meaning and purpose. Why not take a simple step today? Join the podcast page on Facebook. Just search Finding Meaning and Purpose in Retirement. You'll be glad you did. See you next time.